An 8th grade dropout from Fresno built the largest hotel in the world. Then he sold it and built a larger one. Then he did it again. Kirk Kerkorian never held a press conference, never wrote a memoir, never wanted to be recognized on the street. Yet this quiet billionaire bet on Las Vegas, harder than anyone in history, paying $10 million in cash for the Flamingo, silently acquiring MGM, and constructing 3 record-shattering resorts while barely saying a word. The instincts that built his empire are the very ones that hollowed it out. Kirk Kerkorian entered the world as Kirk Kerkorian on June 6, 1917, in Fresno, California. His parents, survivors of the Armenian genocide, settled on the edge of the San Joaquin Valley, scraping by as farm laborers and fruit vendors. The 1920 census lists the family on Olive Avenue, a small house crowded with hope and hardship. Poverty was a daily fact, not a story for later interviews. There would be no memoir, no public nostalgia. By 13, Kirk was working odd jobs and fighting in the Pacific amateur boxing circuit. He dropped out after the 8th grade, a choice born less from rebellion than necessity. The Depression left no room for dreams. Money was all that mattered. Between 1932 and 1936, he fought 37 times, winning 33 bouts. Fight bills from the Central Valley Boxing Club called him the Rifle Right, a light heavyweight with a reputation for never flinching, not even when the odds turned. His older brother Nish worked his corner. Every dollar earned in the ring went back to the family table. In 1935, a barnstorming air show at the Fresno Fairgrounds caught his attention. The sight of a Ford Trimotor banking above the dust and crowds sparked something new. He saved for flying lessons, earning a civilian pilot certificate by 1937. He logged hours on B-24 trainers at the municipal airport, then joined a stunt pilot troupe led by Jack Barlow. Promotional leaflets from those years called him the youngest Armenian stunt pilot in the Pacific Northwest. He performed wing walks and parachute drops at county fairs, always for cash, always keeping a low profile. When war came, Kerkorian enlisted in the Army Air Forces on January 12, 1942. He flew B-24 Liberators for the 447th Bombardment Group, logging 84 combat missions over Italy and southern Germany. His flight logs, preserved at the Air Force Historical Research Agency, record a night bombing run over Milan on July 4, 1944, for which he received the Distinguished Flying Cross. On another mission, he brought a damaged plane home after anti-aircraft fire shredded the fuselage. No drama, just survival. Kerkorian never spoke much about these years. The discipline of the cockpit, the split-second choices, the constant risk, these would shape every move he made long after the war ended. In the ring, in the sky, and later in business, he learned early that nothing was guaranteed but the next fight, the next flight, the next wager. The need to keep moving, to never look back, became a habit he would never break. A wire transfer for $104 million landed in Kirk Kerkorian's accounts in the autumn of 1968. The money came from the sale of Trans International Airlines, a deal that closed with little press and no ceremony. The transaction, recorded in SEC filings and Civil Aeronautics Board dockets, lists the sum in stark black ink, $104 million cash. That kind of liquidity was rare in the late 1960s, even among the biggest players. For Kerkorian, it was a springboard, a war chest large enough to buy into Las Vegas outright, without partners, without debt, and without the scrutiny that came with Wall Street or banking syndicates. He moved fast. In June 1967, before the ink had dried on the airline deal, Kerkorian paid $10 million in cash for the Flamingo Hotel. The bill of sale filed with the Nevada Secretary of State shows a deposit of $9.5 million and a final $500,000 at closing. The Las Vegas Sun ran a brief item on the transaction. No interviews, no ribbon cutting, just a quiet change of hands. The casino world took notice. Cash deals on that scale were almost unheard of, and the lack of fanfare only deepened the mystery around Kerkorian's intentions. By 1974, Kerkorian's reach extended well beyond the Strip. Through a blind trust named Trescinda Corporation, he quietly acquired a 9% stake in MGM Studios. SEC. Form 4 filings from that year show the purchase of 5.1 million shares at $2.70 each. The paperwork lists no press agent, no public statement. The move surprised even seasoned Hollywood insiders, who were left guessing about the identity of the new power behind the curtain. This was Kerkorian's pattern. He used cash as both shield and lever, avoiding joint ventures, sidestepping publicity, and making himself unassailable in negotiations. In Las Vegas, where rumors traveled faster than money, his silence became a weapon. While others courted headlines, Kerkorian built influence through ledgers and escrow receipts. The city's business landscape in the late 1960s favored spectacle, but his approach was all about control. Own the asset, keep the details private, and let the numbers speak. These deals set the stage for something larger: the construction of resorts that would dwarf anything the Strip had ever seen. The cash, the stealth, and the relentless drive to stay out of the spotlight gave him the capacity to reshape Las Vegas on his own terms. The International Hotel rose out of desert sand in 1969, a slab of ambition and calculation. Kerkorian's project managers called it a moonshot: 1,500 rooms, a 30-story tower, and a casino floor the size of a city block. The Clark County permit, stamped number 68210, lists John Portman and Associates as architects and Del E. Webb Construction as the builder. Every detail, from the curtain wall to the fire doors, was negotiated in the back rooms of Las Vegas's building department. Financing came from a syndicate led by Citibank, with a $10 million municipal bond layered in for local leverage. Kerkorian's own cash sealed the deal, but he sold a minority stake to MGM Resorts, quietly hedging his risk. The opening, in November 1969, was a spectacle for everyone except the man who paid for it. Kerkorian skipped the red carpet. He let Barbra Streisand and Elvis Presley fill the showrooms and the headlines. In the ledgers, the International was a chip, acquired, stacked, and then traded. Within 2 years, he sold it to Howard Hughes Corporation for $30 million, keeping a 10% royalty on casino revenues. The deed transfer sits in Clark County's archives, a line item in a much bigger game. With the International off his books, Kerkorian doubled down. The original MGM Grand, announced in 1972, was designed to break every record the Strip had set. Permits filed that April called for 2,100 rooms, an 11-acre parking structure, and the largest casino floor in the country. Architectural Design Group drew up the plans. Del E. Webb Construction returned as general contractor. The financing was even more aggressive: a $150 million bond issue, syndicated loans from First Interstate Bank, and a capital stack that mixed Kerkorian's international leisure equity with minority stakes from Howard Hughes and a handful of Nevada insiders. SEC filings for the MGM Grand Bonds, Series 1973, detail the risk. Every dollar raised was another bet on scale. Inside the construction trailers, project managers worked off blueprints that shifted weekly. Subcontractors, Miller White for mechanical, Cummings McKay for plumbing, fire safe systems for sprinklers, moved on Kerkorian's timetable, not their own. The pace was relentless, the margins thin. The MGM Grand opened in December 1973, claiming the title of the world's largest hotel. Kerkorian never lingered in the lobby. For him, the building was both fortress and wager, another monument to the idea that size itself could be a strategy. The Strip kept growing, and so did the stakes. Each new tower was a chip, played and replaced, always with the next move in mind. Smoke poured from the MGM Grand just before dawn on November 21st, 1980. An electrical fault sparked a fire in the casino's kitchen, and within minutes, heat and toxic gas filled the upper floors. 85 people died. Guests were trapped behind locked stairwell doors. Workers were overcome in service corridors. Families were separated by smoke. The Clark County Fire Department's report described a cascade of failures, a sprinkler system that never activated, fire doors propped open, and a lack of alarms in key areas. The National Fire Protection Association investigators counted 28 code violations, each a decision made or deferred in the name of speed, cost, or convenience. Survivors and families demanded answers. The Clark County inquest called for the hotel's owners to appear, but Kerkorian stayed away. His name surfaced in court filings, not in condolence letters or press conferences. In the months that followed, lawsuits stacked up over 300 civil claims, a $140 million settlement, and a $1 million Occupational Safety and Health Administration fine. The Nevada legislature passed new fire codes, mandating full sprinkler coverage and annual safety audits for every resort on the Strip. None of it brought back the dead. For historians and former employees, the silence from the top was its own statement. In oral histories collected by the Nevada Historical Society, survivors remember the company's legal teams and insurance adjusters, not its owner. His distance was not just physical, but emotional, a refusal to be drawn into public mourning, a pattern that would repeat in later crises. 13 years after the fire, a new MGM Grand opened on the Strip. The 1993 resort dwarfed its predecessor, 5,005 rooms, a casino floor larger than a football field, and a fire suppression system designed to meet the strictest codes in the country. Financing came through a $300 million bond issue and a syndicate led by Bank of America. The opening made headlines for its scale, not for the memory of the tragedy it replaced. Kerkorian was rarely seen on site. His signature was on the bond filings and building permits, not on any memorial plaque. The city moved forward. The Strip's skyline shifted again, and with it, the story of the fire faded into the background, a cautionary tale about ambition, oversight, and the human cost of building fast and big. For Kerkorian, the rebuild was both a business calculation and a way to erase the past. The MGM Grand reclaimed its title as the world's largest hotel, but the shadow of 1980 lingered in the records, in survivor testimony, and in the absence of the man whose name was on every deed, but never on the scene. Kirk Kerkorian's approach to risk reached its limit in the corporate boardrooms of Detroit. In the early 1990s, he began accumulating shares of Chrysler through his Trescinda Corporation, quietly amassing nearly a 10% stake. SEC filings from those years trace a surge of purchases, tens of millions of shares, often in blocks that caught analysts off guard. Kerkorian's letters to shareholders, terse and clinical, called for a merger with General Motors, arguing that only size could save Chrysler from irrelevance. The board resisted. Kerkorian pressed harder, launching a public offer in 2007 to take Chrysler private for $4.5 billion. The offer was rebuffed, and the board's rejection was swift and final. For a man who built empires by moving fast and keeping silent, the public nature of this loss was a new kind of exposure. Chrysler's shares tumbled in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. Kerkorian's position, once valued in the billions, evaporated. By the time Chrysler filed for bankruptcy in 2009, he had lost over $700 million, a number confirmed in both SEC forms and court records. The loss did not just erase capital, it stripped away the leverage that had made him a force in every room he entered. Governance experts studying the filings describe a pattern of overreach. a gambler's instinct colliding with the slow, procedural logic of public companies. Kerkorian, who had always treated assets as chips to be stacked or cashed out, found himself locked out of the game he had once mastered. The Chrysler debacle left scars that went beyond the balance sheet. It drained the war chest that had fueled his boldest moves, and it exposed the limits of a strategy built on silence and speed. In the aftermath, his influence receded. The next set of headlines would not be about deals, but about the unraveling of his personal life. The collapse of Kirk Kerkorian's empire did not happen in boardrooms or trading pits alone. It seeped into courtrooms and tabloid headlines, exposing the private man behind the public wagers. In 1999, Kerkorian married Lisa Bonder, a former tennis professional, in a ceremony that lasted only 4 weeks. Their divorce filings, unsealed in Los Angeles Superior Court, revealed a demand for $320,000 per month in child support, an amount that stunned even seasoned attorneys. The case file BC 920567 runs to hundreds of pages, each line a negotiation between silence and exposure. Kerkorian's signature appears only on financial disclosures, never on personal statements. Then the scandal deepened with a paternity suit. DNA tests ordered by the court proved Kerkorian was not the biological father of Bonder's child. Yet the legal battle dragged on, drawing the billionaire into a spectacle he had spent a lifetime avoiding. Sworn affidavits and transcripts from the trial capture a man who refused to answer questions in open court, delegating every response to his legal team. The press circled, but Kerkorian never gave interviews. His absence became its own kind of testimony. While the tabloids obsessed over the details, another erosion was underway. The MGM name, once a symbol of power and glamour, was quietly hollowed out. By the early 2000s, the company's assets had been carved into real estate investment trusts. REIT deeds, filed in Clark County, show the gradual transfer of hotels and casinos into holding companies, stripping the brand of its substance. The lion's roar faded to a licensing agreement, a logo on paperwork. Kerkorian's empire became a shell, its value measured in legal settlements and royalty streams rather than ambition or vision. The public unraveling left scars that numbers could not hide. In the end, the man who built the world's largest hotels and gambled fortunes with a single phone call found himself fighting for privacy in family court and for meaning in the ruins of a brand he no longer controlled. The strip kept growing, but the world Kerkorian built was slipping away, deed by deed, headline by headline. Kerkorian's name rarely appeared on donor walls or gala invitations. The ledgers of the Lindsay Foundation, established in 1989, tell a different story. Over $1 billion moved quietly from its accounts to causes across Armenia and the United States. Hospital wings, earthquake relief, new roads, and university endowments were all funded without press releases or naming rights. IRS filings confirm the scale, but the signature is always buried in the paperwork. In Armenia, entire villages rebuilt after the 1988 Spitak earthquake owe their survival to anonymous funds traced back to Kerkorian's foundation. Community leaders recall checks arriving by courier, no ceremony, no explanation. Even as his business empire unraveled, the flow of donations never stopped. The foundation's minutes, made public only after his death, reveal a pattern of deliberate silence. Gifts routed through intermediaries, instructions to avoid publicity, and a standing order that no project should bear his name. For Kerkorian, giving was not an act of legacy building. It was a transaction as private and unadorned as any of his business deals. Kirk Kerkorian died in June 2015, just shy of his 98th birthday. There was no grand farewell, no public eulogy or self-portrait left behind. His will, filed in Los Angeles County, offered little more than instructions to disperse what remained, and the obituaries that followed struggled to capture a man who had spent a lifetime refusing definition. The Strip carried on, its skyline crowded with towers he once built, sold, or quietly lost. The International's glass, the MGM Grand's green sprawl, the echo of casino lights on the desert floor. These stand as monuments more enduring than bronze or marble. Kerkorian left no autobiography, no memoir, no names carved in stone. Yet every neon-lit facade, every acre of resort stretching along Las Vegas Boulevard, speaks to his presence and his absence. The city itself became his memorial, a living testament to the paradox of a man who shaped so much while insisting on leaving nothing behind but the architecture of risk and erasure. Las Vegas glows on, shaped by a man who left no memoir, only monuments. Kerkorian's empire vanished, yet the Strip, rebuilt, replaced and unblinking, remains his silent signature. In a city built on forgetting, his contradictions linger. Ambition without attachment, generosity without explanation. The lesson endures. Sometimes the loudest legacy is the one with no name on it. Share your thoughts below.